Are you fired up about what you have in front of you? Are you fired up and excited to know that you have the opportunity to change a life, right? If you don't feel good about your offer or fulfillment's a shit show, or there's just certain things you're not 100% confident in, you're gonna have lack of confidence in your sales calls, guys. You're not gonna be able to get that point across. Welcome to the Closers Network podcast, the only podcast and community that you want to be paying attention to and be a part of if you're looking to add an extra 10 to 30K to your sales commissions as a remote high ticket closer. Guys, today's episode is going to be a solo one. And today we're going to talk about the 5 mistakes keeping sales reps poor. Right? The 5 mistakes keeping sales reps poor, guys. And so we're going to dive into 5 different things here today. The first one being number 1, right? Where I see most salespeople falling into this trap, especially if you've never sold anything before, or if you have sold, right? Maybe you have some bad patterns or some bad habits that you're accustomed to that hopefully, right, with this episode right here, we can help you implement some change and adopt some new patterns in your sales career and your sales business, right? And make no mistake about it, guys, right? If you're in this space, you're a remote high ticket closer, you're essentially like a business owner, right? Without the headaches of running your own business. How freaking cool is that, right? You get to make 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, or some people even 7 figures in this space, right? Without having to have the headaches of running and managing a business and having to deal with payroll and expenses and all the difficult navigating aspects that any business has. So the number 1 thing we're going to dive into today that I see a lot of sales reps struggling with, guys, new, old, right? Especially have these old patterns that they've hung on to, right? Is thinking more is better. That's the number 1 thing that I see people doing on their sales calls, right? And just to back up for a second, guys, I'm not just the host of the Closers Network podcast, right? Mike Sadikian's not only the host of the Closers Network podcast. Mike also happens to be a sales coach in the Closers Network community, right? And so I coach and train a lot of people and have for many years now. And the number 1 thing that I see, guys, is salespeople thinking that more is better. And it's a huge trap, right? Thinking that, hey, if I just talk more, if I just explain more, right, it's going to help the prospect make a decision and give them the information that they need to get out of their own way. What I've had to realize the hard way over the last decade or so doing this is that could be absolutely farthest from the truth. In fact, the number 1 thing that I've been able to take away and realize, guys, is that less is more, right? Less is more. And so that means less talking is going to be a lot more effective for you, right, than more talking. Because the number 1 thing that happens in a sales conversation when you're having one with the prospect is if you start talking a lot, automatically your prospect's going to be thinking like, my gosh, is this person trying to sell me something? And when is this segment of the conversation going to end? And you don't want to fall in that trap, right? If you're in sales, I'm hoping that you have some sort of way to track your sales calls, right? And that's the audio or the video or one or the other, right? Or maybe you have both. And sometimes utilizing what we use is a Firefly's note taker, right? You're able to see, and there's many other softwares out there that you guys can absolutely utilize. It's not just Fireflies, but guys, Fireflies, for example, tells you what segment of the call, in the entire call, what's the segment that you've been talking and what's the segment that the prospect's been talking, right? And what I realize is most salespeople that don't do well, they're talking about 70% or 80% or 90% of the call, right? Which should be actually the opposite, right? Like your prospect should be talking 60, 70% of the call, right? Maybe even 80%, right? But usually about 60, 70% of the call. Now, it's not going to be perfect in every single scenario. Some prospects are going to be different than others, but I'm just talking generally, right? Less is going to be a lot more. And what you want to do instead is focus on questions, right? Not statements. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit. So the number one piece of advice going down the list here, guys, is thinking more is better when in fact, less is absolutely 100% more. Now, the second thing that I see in students that I coach, right, is pitching way too soon. And there's some areas that I'm going to cover, right, in pitching too soon here. Number one is, did you identify a problem? And not only did you identify a problem, did you label your prospect with the problem, right? Did they in fact confirm that this is an issue that they're dealing with right now? Because the reality of it is, if you don't have a problem to solve for, there's not going to be a sale, and there's no need for you to pitch or get into and waste 30 to 45 or an hour of your time only to find out that there was no problem, right? It's a huge trap that I see a lot of salespeople getting themselves into, is not understanding that, dude, you may get a person on the call that in fact does not have a problem, and it's totally okay and fine to be able to politely, professionally qualify them and get them off of the call, right? If they don't want to admit to having a problem or they just don't have a problem. Now, oftentimes in doing that, right, as you get good at this, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to push people away and to realize that the people that are in fact serious, but maybe they have a guard up, right? Because they don't want to get sold, right? They're not sharing that problem with you. They don't want to necessarily tell you what's going on for them, and they hold this guard up. So the more you push them away, if you see that, wait a minute, this person's trying to reel themselves back in. They seem actually interested, but man, it just seems like they have this guard up. That's what you want to focus on and do, right? And especially if someone's not admitting to having any pain or a problem, push them away. And if they reel themselves back in, there's most likely something there you want to dig in and dive into, right? But no problem, no sale. Now, a part of this pitching way too soon as well is, did you identify a problem? Why now? Why is the time for them to make a change so important for them to do this right now, right? And one analogy I like to use, an example, right, is, can you be able to determine if this person is interested or are they committed, right, guys? It's one whole thing to be interested in something. There's a lot of us that are going to wander through life continuing to be interested in stuff, but there's very few things that we're going to be able to commit to, right, and have serious commitment of. And so you have to identify and find out, why is it important for your prospect to do this now, right? And understand, are they really just still in a space where they're interested in doing this, or no, man, they're actually committed to making this happen. And I just have to give them the conviction and confidence to believe that my product's going to help solve their problem if they actually have a problem to solve. Consequences, right? This is the part 3 in pitching way too soon, which, what happens if they don't do this? What is the cost of inaction? And have you gotten them to verbalize and understand what the consequences are going to be, right, if they don't take action on this today? And that's another important piece, right, is getting them to admit and talk about the consequences. The next part here, piece 4, is what's going to help, right, in the pitching way too soon part here. And what do they need? Like, do they need mindset? Do they need skill sets? Do they need support, right? What is the thing that they are lacking that they feel like they need, right? Maybe they've invested in another 5 programs, right, and still didn't get what they need, right? And maybe your program has a solution for them, but you didn't hit on the one thing that they feel like they really, really, really needed here, right? You have to identify what's going to help them get that outcome, right? Make sure you cover that before you get into the pitch. And then the last piece 5 here, guys, is vision, right? Where do they want to be, right? Can they see themselves and what life's going to look like once this problem is actually solved, right? And can you get them to visualize and talk about it, right? Where are they at? Where do they want to go? This is the where do they want to go piece that we talk about in our school community all the time. And if you're not in school, guys, we have a community for completely free. We do 5 days a week live training on our school platform. You can join Monday through Friday and you can see all of the coaches, all the past calls that we had. You can ask questions, guys. And we talk about where are they at, where do they want to be, and how to build that gap. So if you're not in there, make sure you get in there and take advantage of the free course and free materials and coaching calls that we have in there for you. Now we're going to move on to step or part 3, right? So we covered the first 2 parts, guys, in the 5 mistakes keeping sales reps poor. Number 1 was thinking more is better. Number 2 was pitching way too soon. Number 3 is giving statements instead of asking questions. Guys, amateur closers make statements, right? Professional closers do a phenomenal job of asking questions, right? And so you want to focus on what are the questions that I could be asking, right? You want to be talking 30 or 40% of that call, not 60, 70% of that call, right? The way you're going to do that is asking a ton of questions, right? And making priority like your prospect, right? And getting them the solution, prioritizing them. And so you have to get better at asking better questions, right? And understanding exactly what that process looks like. If you need help doing that, again, make sure you join school and we'll show you exactly how it's done. Number 4, right? Not controlling the frame. Oftentimes I see a lack of confidence, right? In people that get into the space. And so guys, you have to be bold. You have to be not fearful of being able to take control of the call if you've lost control of the frame because this person started talking about their grandmother or their dog or this situation that's completely irrelevant from the conversation that you're having right now. Well, how do I engage this person back, right? How do I get back into the framework? And if you need a framework, we give you some for free, right, guys? And there's 3 phases to the call. It's the intro, the discovery, and the close. You want to understand as a closer, what part of the framework am I in? And what do I need to hit on? What points do I need to hit on before actually moving to the next phase of the call and making sure if I don't get the information and the intel that I'm looking for, I don't advance into the next stage, right? If the person doesn't have a problem, I don't advance into the close, right? If they don't get to admit that they have an issue with this, I don't advance into the close, right? These are the things that we're talking about with not having control over the frame, and a simple framework will allow you to understand at what phase and point of the call am I in and what do I need to do, right, in order to get to the next phrase and take control of the call back if I've lost it. I love that. I love taking control of the call, but I love doing that starting off as a closer. I don't necessarily have to deal with that a lot now because I am mostly in control of the call, right? So you learn to get better at this and you learn to avoid getting into these situations the more repetition, sets and reps and feedback that you get on your calls. Now, this is the last piece and probably the most important one that you want to be paying attention to, right? And the 5th reason that keeps salespeople poor, guys, is not being evangelic about the product or the service that they are selling. Are you fired up about what you have in front of you? Are you fired up and excited to know that you have the opportunity to change a life, right? If you don't feel good about your offer or fulfillment's a shit show, or there's just certain things you're not 100% confident in, you're going to have lack of confidence in your sales calls, guys. You're not going to be able to get that point across, right? And it's going to come off. It's going to show. You're not going to be evangelic, right? If you're really 1000% bought in, just like some of you might be with your faith, right? You know, you have the ability and you should have the conviction and the ability to be able to help this person get out of your way if you truly determined that there's a problem to solve for here and that your product has a solution for it, right? You must be evangelic, not just about your product, but also be evangelic in how you close, right? And be confident and helping them get the solution and taking money, right? And charging the credit card or the debit card or getting them in some sort of financing to help finally solve their problem. Is that how you think about your sales? Or are you kind of just like, I don't know if my product's going to deliver, right? Because if you're thinking, I don't know, right? The reality is you're probably not going to be closing a whole lot of deals. So if you need help with this and building that confidence, conviction, and just being about a lot more evangelic about what you sell. Maybe you need an offer right now. Maybe you don't have a legitimate offer that you feel good about, right, guys? There's placement opportunities within the One Call Closer sales agency, which is our sister company. So if you're someone that's serious and you're looking to make an investment in yourself to not only get 90 days of coaching one-on-one with us. It could be me, it could be Coach Trish, could be Coach George, could be Coach Marisa, right? We have a lot of coaches here, guys, that have been part of One Call Closers, our sales agency, for a long time now, that can get you on an offer, right, with a 90 days coaching. So if you're looking for a legitimate company to sell for, a good product, a good service that's been proven and tested, that has 10,000 plus testimonials, right, then you want to make sure you click the first link in the bio below, in the description below, to schedule a call and chat with me or somebody on the team, right? It could be Christian, it could be myself, it could be another team member, about one-on-one coaching, guys. And so if you're really serious about breaking into this space and you're kind of fed up and tired with looking for offers or landing on offers and not them being exactly what you thought, because there's a lack of leads, there's a lack of leadership, there's no culture, the offer sucks, it's not been tested before, it hasn't been proven, there's no testimonials. If you're tired of all of that, and you want to have warm inbound leads without having a cold call or doing anything in your calendar, and you're willing to make an investment in yourself, click the link, the first one in the description below, and it's going to allow you to set up a call and chat with us about it to see if what we have going on and the opportunities that we have within our sales agency might make sense for you or not. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today's podcast. It's a little bit different. I understand. I know. But hey, don't worry, because this week we got our One Call Closers annual retreat, guys. We have about almost 100 people coming down to Southern California here in Temecula, where we rented the Pachanga Ballroom, and we're going to be tearing it up, having a blast, having a great time, enjoying it with the people that we love and being in proximity with some special guest speaker. And we got a lot of cool things going down, guys. So I'm going to have a lot of people flying in from all sorts of different countries and areas of the US and across the globe that are within our sales agency. I think we have now about 17 people in different countries that sell for us remotely. How freaking crazy is that? So I know a good handful of those people are going to be coming down this week. We're going to be having a blast. We're going to be having a great time. And so we're looking forward to that. If you want to be a part of that, make sure you guys, again, you click that link below. We hope to see you on one of the calls, and have an awesome rest of the week. We hope to see you on the next episode.